Hello.
Hi, sir. How you doing?
Hey, I'm good. We're on air. Uh, uh, just allow me for just a few seconds. Uh, I'll greet my the audience. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. إخوتي وأخواتي في الوطن العربي الكبير. محدثكم أخوكم ساهر عطية حمودة. أبدأ معكم لقائنا مع متابع الهجرة العالمي والأشهر على نطاق أوسع في العالم كله. الأستاذ والسيد بريت سايمون، والذي منكم لا يعرف بريت سايمون فهو خبير الهجرة العشوائية الأشهر في العالم كله، وهو من جنسية من أصل بريطاني إنجليزي، وجاء إلى أمريكا عبر الهجرة العشوائية مع زوجته الأسبانية. بريت سايمون لمن لا يعرفه أيضا هو أكثر الملمين بموضوع الهجرة العشوائية في العالم على الإطلاق، ويعد مرجعا للمحامين أمثال تشارلز كوك وكيرتس موريسون و غريغ سيسكند ورفاقهم حتى جيس بلاس والآخرون. إن شاء الله معكم اليوم نستقبل كل مكالمات حضراتكم، مش مكالمات حضراتكم، هتبقى كل أسئلة حضراتكم عبر اليوتيوب والفيسبوك وتويتر، عبر كل قنواتنا العاملة إن شاء الله. نرحب بحضراتكم. Mr. Brett Simon, I was just telling my audience who is Brett Simon, for those who don't know Brett Simon, and I'm very happy that you're here with us, and finally we made it and got you here. Thank you very much. Everybody been waiting for you since yesterday. I told them, and again, I want to say thank you. And now you get to say your first word, whatever you have in mind. You want to tell the people? Go ahead. Mike is yours.
Thank you for the invitation, and I'm honored to be on your show. So, alaikum salam.
Alaikum salam.
Anyway, yeah. So unfortunately, I don't speak any Arabic, but it's a beautiful and ancient language. I love listening to it. So yeah. But anyway, let's get into the questions. Just to be clear, I think we discussed this yesterday.
Yep.
I'm happy to answer any question. There's no question that's off limits as far as I'm concerned. If I can't answer, I'll tell you. But but very happy to take any questions. No problem.
السيد بريت سايمون يرحب بحضراتكم ويقول للأسف أنه لا يتحدث اللغة العربية، ولغة جميلة وقديمة، وكان يحب أن يود أن يتحدث اللغة العربية، ولكن للأسف. ويقول لكم الأستاذ بريت سايمون حضراتكم تقدروا تسألوا كل الأسئلة، مفيش أسئلة بره الصندوق، كل الأسئلة بمنتهى الصراحة. اللي هيجاوب عليه هيجاوب عليه، اللي مش هيجاوب عليه هقول لكم مش هجاوب عليه. And now let us go straight and tell them the headlines. Like, we're talking about diversity visa. We're talking about some opinion about litigations and what status of litigations. Now, from your opinion, I might agree or disagree with you, but we're not here for that. We're here to tell the people what's the perspective, what's everything is going in Brett Simon perspective. They know what I think, and we're here to know from you. So we're not here to disagree or agree. We're here to listen to Brett Simon and his opinion. Now, let's go straight and talk about 2020. What do you think is going on? And if you allow me, I'll put the banner as 2020. 2020.
So 9,095 visas were reserved by Judge Mehta for later issuance. Of course, in September 2020, about 7,000 visas were issued because of the lawsuit, or the lawsuits in 2020. None of those visas would have been issued without the lawsuit. So, in a sense, the the lawsuits have already been successful in getting 7,000 people their visas. However, the government have appealed. The appeal is ongoing. It's probably going to take until, I would imagine, June, July, August for that appeal to happen. I don't think it's going to happen faster than that. And that means that there's going to be a very short window for those 9,095 visas to be issued before September 30th, if the legal process means that we still have those visas to be issued. So it's going to be some time before we know what the real position is. We don't know whether we're going to win the final thing or not, and there's likely to be a further delay, because I think if we only get a judgment in, let's say, August, that confirms the earlier reservation and tells the government to issue those visas, it's unlikely to be happening before September 30th, which was the deadline already set. So there would probably be a revision of the deadline, but I don't know what the outcome will be. I was surprised, frankly, that Judge Mehta allowed some aspects of the stay, but we'll have to wait and see how that works.
Okay, I'm going to need a break
Yeah.
from time to time to say to them. أولا سألت الأستاذ بريت سايمون عن رأيه فيما يحدث، وقلت له نحن هنا ليس للاختلاف، قد نختلف قد نتفق، ولكن أنت هنا ونحن هنا حتى نري الناس رأي بريت سايمون ونبدأ ب 2020. قال الأستاذ بريت سايمون أو السيد بريت سايمون قال أن أول شيء يحب يقوله عن 2022 كان لها قضية وموجود لها قضية هي جوميز، والقضية ربحت بالفعل بمجرد أنها فتحت السفارات واستقبلوا حوالي 7,000 تأشيرة. بعد ذلك دخلنا في معمعة الحكم مع القاضي أميت مهتا وأقر لكم 9,995 فيزا، 9,095 تأشيرة، again 9095. وحتى الآن هناك طعون على ذلك، لا نعرف متى سينتهي هذا الحكم، ولكن لنكن منطقيين، فالقاضي أميت مهتا قال خلال العام 2022 أي بحلول أغسطس أو على أقصى حد سبتمبر، رأينا أن القاضي أميت مهتا أتاح للأبيل وللستي وأمر إيقاف التنفيذ، ولكن سنرى ما سيحدث في ذلك قريبا. قد تمتد القضية لأبعد من ذلك، ولكن هذا ما سنعمله في الأيام القادمة. 2020 I mean, I'm sorry. That's it?
That's it? Good.
Okay.
Do you agree, Saha? Do you think?
Well, I agree. Yeah, I totally agree that we won the minute that the judge opened the embassies and received and issued and they issued 7,000 visas. In that day, just to let you know, in that day there were great pressure on me every day since June. I go online and tell people, don't give up. We're gonna win. We're gonna win. We're gonna win. And in August, I was in tears on YouTube and telling people we won. And then we got 7,000 visas. So I really agree with you. هو اللي بيسألني هل أنت تتفق معايا؟ قلت له إحنا كنا استقبلنا قرار فتح السفارات بالدموع وال7,000 تأشيرة. Yes, I agree, sir.
Yeah. So the key point about whether the judge can reserve visas and force the government to issue after the end of the fiscal year is what the government is really arguing now. And so, the visas we got before September 30th were great. And actually, Judge Mehta did some things later to really help those people that were issued in September. But we still have to have this final argument. So we'll see how that goes.
السيد سايمون بيقول لحضراتكم المفتاح لما سيحدث في الأيام القادمة هو أن تروا حجم التأشيرات التي أعطاها القاضي أميت مهتا. بالفعل 7,000 تأشيرة اللي طلعوا بسبب قرار القاضي و9095 تأشيرة، فسنرى ما سيحدث في الأيام القادمة. Would like to turn to 2021 or still?
Sure.
Okay, so now 2021. رأي الأستاذ سايمون في 2021 litigations. Yes.
Yeah. So I saw there were some questions in the chat about, which I could only read the ones in English, so I apologize. You need to drive the questions we answer, but the same sort of arguments are taking place in the good luck and go cases. It seems very unlikely that we're going to get any help from the government in terms of the what was the BBB, the Meng 1 and 2 amendments. Those seem, they're not completely dead, but it seems very unlikely. So the go and good luck plaintiffs are the only DV 2021 cases that have any remaining chance, because unlike 2020, there isn't a class action that covers everybody. In DV 2020, Gomez's case was a class action, so everybody, whether they were a plaintiff or not, was covered if they hadn't already got the visa.
Okay.
Whereas in 2021, the only covered people are the go and good luck plaintiffs. There's a reservation of visas, which is less than the number of plaintiffs. And so the question I've seen is, who's going to get those visas? And I think that there isn't any certainty about this, but I think it'll be cases that are documentarily qualified. Curtis doesn't choose which one goes for good luck, and Chuck and Greg don't choose which one goes first for go. It's not up to the lawyers. They're not allowed actually to push certain cases ahead of others. It'll be up to the government to decide the order. And so it'll either be case number or it'll be documentarily qualified date. And that, you know, one of those two things will work. So if you're not documentarily qualified and you're a go plaintiff or you're a good luck plaintiff, you have less chance, I would say, of getting one of those visa slots. I think it'll be processed fairly quickly.
Okay. سألت السيد بريت سايمون عن حظوظ 21، فقال بمنتهى الوضوح من لم يلتحق بقضايا زي جو وجود لك والقضايا الأخرى فلا يعتبر له حظوظ إلا إذا تدخل الكونغرس الأمريكي. ففي هذه القضايا كل ما وجدناه حتى الآن التأشيرات المحجوزة إلخ حضراتكم لكم فرصة. وكان قد رأى سؤال بيقول من هو المعني بتلك التأشيرات. قال in answer to the question again, please. The question that you saw, I'm sorry.
So people seem to be asking what will be the priority, the ordering of the cases, you know, who will get, right? Because there are less visas available than the plaintiffs. And I think it'll be by DQ date order or case number order, most likely DQ date. So the date those cases were documentarily qualified. Of course, we can't be 100% certain of that yet, right? But it's not up to the lawyers to choose which of the cases go first. It's up to the government.
فالسيد سايمون يقول لحضراتكم يرى أن من له حظوظ هو من حصل على documentary qualified، ويتوقف على تاريخ حصوله على documentary qualified سيدخل قبل غيره. يذكر حضراتكم أن ليس كيرتس موريسون ولا تشارلز كوك ولا أي محامي تدخل في من يدخل قبل الآخر، ولن يكون لهم تدخل ولا يعلمون من سيأخذ تلك التأشيرات. Anything you want to say more about litigations 2021, sir?
No, the only sad thing is that there's no more opportunity for people that weren't on the litigations. So, you know, people have got opinions about litigations, but in DV 2021, you know, without litigation and without paying to be a plaintiff, people had no chance. Whereas in Gomez in DV 2020, there was at least a class action that helped everybody. But it is a reminder that the legal system is about justice, but unfortunately in the legal system, sometimes people represented by lawyers get more justice than others. That's unfortunate, but that's the way it is.
Yeah. السيد بريت سايمون يذكر حضراتكم أن الفرق بين 2020 و 2021 أن 2020 كانت كلاس أكشن و للجميع، ولكن في 2021 لم تكن كلاس أكشن بحكم القاضي مهتا وما حدث. لن يكون هناك حظوظ لمن لم يدخل في قضايا 2021 بكل أسف، وشيء محزن. ولكن طبعا لسه في الكونغرس هنتكلم فيه، ولكن هذا يعظم شيء ويورينا شيء أن في أمريكا في عدل وفي طرق للعدل تروح لها لما يكون ليك حق، ولكن هذا العدل بيكون للي دخل مزمار العدل وحاول التراك بتاع العدل انه هي يخش القضية ويحتكم للمحاكم. Should we go to 2020?
2022?
2022, I'm sorry. Yes, you're right. I'm sorry.
Yep, sure.
والآن سنبدأ في الكلام عن 2022. So first, we would like to tell the people about the emails that they receive from KCC. So the first one says, congratulations.
So the very first one, the 1LL, is the congratulations, you've been selected, right?
Yep.
And so that's, the 1NL. It just means you've been selected and you've got the chance of processing your case. It doesn't mean more than that. Then along the way, there are other emails, and most of them refer to the processing status of the DS-260, or in the old days, your documents. But there are a number of them that, and if you get one that says something like your case has been processed or you're ready for scheduling, etc., that's good. That means you're documentarily qualified, but you're not allocated to the embassy yet. So there's a number of those sorts of emails, various emails, but they, roughly speaking, they mean the same thing. Do you want to translate that, and then we'll talk about the more important emails?
اول جواب بيجي لك اللي هو first NL بيقول لحضرتك مبروك انت فزت في القضيه. هو من اهم الايميلات اللي بتيجي لحضرتك من KCC. بعد كده في ايميلات تانية احنا هنتكلم في الايميلات التانية. لو تلاحظوا حضراتكم بنترجم لحضراتكم بسرعه بحيث ان احنا نقدر نلحق كمان نسمع كلام الراجل ونقول لحضراتكم. طيب, that is the first one. Then what?
Right. Then there's one, and I can probably show a picture of it in a moment. Let me just do this a second. The most sort of, there's two most important ones. The 2NL is the one that actually says you've got updates available and you need to go and check your CX system, where you'll see your 1NL, your congratulations, you've been selected email. That's replaced by the interview schedule, right? That's a pretty important one, of course. Let me just share this screen. I'll just, if you want to make that, just pop that screen up and I'll put something over there.
Okay.
I was going to show something about Cairo in a moment, but I'll also show this email. So the other email that is important is this email. This is an important email. It says your case is now current for interview processing. That's the important stage, current for interview processing.
But that
now
means
that email
it's
is
current only. That means it's in the bulletin only. That's all it says, right? Well, that's my opinion.
Sorry, that's what it means. What?
For me, it means your case number. He's only talking here about the case number. For me, he didn't say anything about the DS260 so far. So he only said
no, this is this is further on than that. This is beyond the point when your DS260 is processed. This is far advanced down there. It's just in a normal year, you would get this email only for a few days before you then receive your 2NL. This email is very important because it means that your case has been allocated to the embassy. And in normal years, that means that you're going to get the interview scheduled in the next few days. But right now, there's a problem with that. And I'll explain that in a moment. But yes, this is an important email.
هذا من الإيميلات المهمة جدا. اختلفت مع حضراتكم قبل كده على هذا الإيميل، وقال في السابق كان هذا الإيميل يمثل فقط إن اسمك في النشرة، ولكن الآن هناك أهمية أخرى لهذا الإيميل. وعادة كان الإيميل ده لما بيجي لك بيبقى فاضل لك شوية أيام ويجي لك ال2NL، وال2NL اللي أنا ما ترجمتهاش راحت عليا ان انا اترجمها. ال2NL هو خطاب الموعد اللي بيجي لك علشان تحضر الانترفيو. Yes sir.
So the problem that I'm referring to is that the number of people that are receiving that email or are in that status of being allocated in some embassies is more than the number of people who we could go full screen if you want, so we can talk about this other shared screen in a moment. We can hide the shared screen if you like. But the number of people allocated to the embassy is more than the capacity of the embassy. So let's say there are 200 people who've received that email saying you are current for interview processing. That doesn't mean at the moment that they're all going to get their 2NL in the next few days, because the embassy might be saying to KCC, we've got space for 30 interviews this month, right? And then the 200 people are going to have to wait until there's 30 this month and 30 the next month and maybe 40 the month after that. The embassy sets the capacity, but but doesn't say which cases are to be scheduled. So the problem with that is that you can say current for interview processing. You think you're about to get your 2NL, but in fact, for many people, they're finding they don't get their 2NL, and they will just wait. And during that period of time, you can't change anything about your DS260. You can't change your embassy location. If you contact KCC, they say they can't change anything. And they also say you have to speak to the embassy, but the embassy doesn't have your case yet. It's a very difficult time. I call that time limbo, because you can't do anything with your case at that point. Do you understand that, Zaha?
Yeah. Would you allow me to العطب والمشكلة يحددها السيد سايمون في أن الآن ما يحدث أن عدد اللائقين وعدد المتاحين للمقابلة قد يكون 200، بينما السفارة تأخذ 30. فبدل ما ياخدوا ال 200 يوصل لك الايميل ده، يبقى انت المفروض انك هتقابل، بيبقى متوقع انك هتقابل، لكن انتم 200 مثلا، نقول مثلا 200 بياخدوا 30 الشهر ده، 30 الشهر اللي جاي، 30 الشهر اللي بعده. دي المشكله، وده اللي بيحصل في ما يدعوه السيد سايمون بانه الليمبو. دي المشكله ودي الديلما اللي حاصله واللي عامله مشكله في المقابلات، وهيشرح لنا اكتر دلوقتي. Yes sir.
So then, of course, the email that everybody wants to get is the email that says you've got updates available at SEAC, and that is a simple email. It doesn't contain your interview dates, but when you go online at SEAC, you see your interview dates. So the current for interview processing is good news and bad news for some people. You have to. It depends on the embassy capacity. Of course, for example, at the moment, there will be people receiving that and they're allocated to Cairo embassy, but Cairo is not taking any cases. So anybody allocated to Cairo is just waiting and now can't move. That's terrible. That's bad.
الخطاب الذي تنتظرونه هو الخطاب اللي بيقول لك هناك ابديت على لحالتك على موقع الترافل. بتخش وتكشف على حالتك، بتشوف ان ليك موعد ام لا. وهنتكلم كمان في مشكلة كايرو حالا. There is another email that comes up. People go through that a lot, and I'm trying to get it here if I'm not.
Someone just posted one email, which was records indicate you've submitted a complete and valid DS260. Yeah, so that is documentarily qualified. That email, your DS260 is processed, and once you become current, if you're not already current, then you would hope to be scheduled. But at the moment, it's not a guarantee that you'll be scheduled.
So which one makes me more happy if I'm a DV winner 2022? Which one should make me more happy? The first one or the other one?
Well, it's a process. You're going further and further along a process. The first email, the 1NL, says congratulations, you've been selected. Along the line, there are other emails that like the DS260 has. What does it say? DS260. You've indicated a complete and valid DS260. That's good. But further along than that is the one that says current for interview processing. That means your DS260 was processed. You're also current, and they've allocated you to the embassy. Okay. But now you're in another line.
Okay. يبقى أول حاجة بتجيلك إنك كسبت. بعد كده بيجيلك إن لو استعلمت ولسه ما أخدتش البروسيس، ما اتعالجتش، ما الدي اس ما اتعالجش، وبعد كده بيجي لك الجواب الايميل اللي بيقول you have submitted valid and complete. وبعدين بيقول لك انك في الانترفيو بروسيس، وده لهذا العام. Yes sir. Then.
Okay. Any other emails you wanted to check, or you're good?
I'm good. Okay. So
right.
Let's go ahead with the questions, or you have anything to say about the chart that I see here?
Yeah, so the reason I popped that chart up was because I suspected many of your watchers are from Cairo Embassy, right? Or they're associated with Cairo. Okay.
Majority.
Do you want to just briefly talk about that then? So let's put that chart back up.
هنحط الشارت ده، وده خاص ب اكثر لمن في سفارة القاهرة. I think this is better this way, so they can see the whole thing.
All right. So what we're looking at here is immigrant visa issuances at Cairo Embassy only, right?
ما نراه هنا هو فقط كايرو Embassy وإصدار التأشيرات في سفارة القاهرة فقط. Yes, sir.
Okay. And we've got the data going back to 2017. So each month here, 2017, you've got October, November, December 2017, all the way through. Okay. And we can see the amount of visas that Cairo used to process, and the green, brown, and yellowish boxes here, these three. So if I just click on there, that's DV1. This is DV2. Oops. Oh dear. Hang on. It's reset. I'll just reset research. Post Cairo.
هو هنا بيقول لحضراتكم الشارت ده بيوري حضراتكم التأشيرات الصادرة، وهو بيراجع من أول 2017 في البني ده اللي هو DV2 و DV1.
DV1, 2, and 3. So in the old days, the visas were categorized. DV1 was the principal selectee, DV2 was the spouse, and DV3 are any child derivatives, right? And so you can see in the old days, prior to COVID, prior to all that mess, in a typical month, they would do maybe 260, 270 issued visas in Cairo for DV. And that was typically more than half of the activity at Cairo was for diversity visa. And, that's how it was pre-pandemic. And of course, it then stopped when the pandemic happened, and we can see now that they are issuing other visa classes, other immigrant visas, but not DV at all.
Yeah.
And so they've just
حضراتكم
decided to do nothing on DV. We don't understand why.
حضراتكم لو تابعتم الشارت اللي شايفينه باللون الاصفر واللون البني واللون الاخضر هو الدي في 1 اللي هو الفائز الرئيسي، الدي في 2 اللي هو الزوجه السباوس، الدي في 3 اللي هو اي حد من الابناء. لو شايفين الالوان دي هتعرفوا حضراتكم قد ايه كان في انجاز للعمل في السنوات دي. بنشوف انه توقف سنه 2020. Yes sir.
So you know, essentially, that's the problem right now. That's the problem we're facing for Cairo. There are, sorry, let's just see. There are
وهم الآن بيطلعوا فقط تأشيرات غير ذلك، مش فقط يعني خالص. لا دلوقتي المعدل الأصفر دي في 1 دي في 3 قل جدا جدا جدا، وهم بيطلعوا نوع تاني different kind of visas زي ما بيقول الأستاذ سايمون. Yes sir.
So they're just working very, very slowly at Cairo, and it's one of the busiest. In normal times, it's one of the busiest and best embassies in the region.
في الأيام العادية هي أفضل السفارات، والآن بطيئة جدا 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 جدا. Yes sir.
Yeah, it has a very high approval rate in normal times, very high issuance rate. More than 90% of cases would be issued there, and it does a lot of work. So without that, you know, the whole region is suffering because Cairo is not working. It's crazy. So there's a few in each region, but obviously the main region, you know, is shown there. That's the number of cases currently issued and scheduled at Cairo. It's very few. This should have been, you know, we're 6 months in really, and this should have been done in just a couple of weeks. These numbers crazy.
في العادي القاهرة هي أكبر كمية في الإيشوانس، أكبر كمية في الإصدار، وما يحدث الآن هو العكس تماما. القاهرة تعتبر الأفضل في المنطقة كلها في الإصدار في السنوات العادية، وفي هذه السنة شيء مؤسف للغاية. Yes sir.
And then just the last chart I want to show you. You can see here the beige color represents cases that are real case numbers. They're not holes, they're real case numbers, but they've not been scheduled. There's no activity. You can see how many cases there are in Africa to do. There's so many cases. It's just, you know, it's crazy. In terms of the case numbers for Cairo,
I need to translate that first.
Yeah.
اوكي. فاللي شايفينه حضراتكم باللون البيج ده هو الاسيونس والاصدار للتاشيرات، واضح جدا في الشارت ده، وهو ينصحكم بالمتابعه من خلال هذا الشارت. تقدروا تشوفوا كميه التقصير الواضحه. البيج ده كله متاح، وليس هولز، وليس خانات فارغه، ولم يتعرضوا له. اللون الاخضر والالوان الثانيه هي اللي تحت المعالجه وتحت الاصدار والمقابلات بتاعت دلوقتي. زي ما شفتوا الفرق في اللون البيج ده كله حالات غير مستخدمه حتى الان. Yes sir.
So Egypt seems to be stuck around 12,500 to 13,000 over the last 2 months, and you can see the issuances in Cairo have all been obviously in those lower ranges, but the first 1,000 case numbers seem to have got a slightly higher priority. But we're only talking about, you know, only 11 cases have been issued. I mean, you know, in the first 1,000. And so, you know, it's really a very, very low number of cases. Really, this is quite, it's very sad to see. It's completely wrong.
السيد سايمون بيقول لحضراتكم المتابعة خلال هذا الشرط ترون أن في أول 1000 لم يأتوا حتى الآن ب 11 مقابلة في أول 1000. So what is the total for now in Cairo according to this chart?
The total, I'll take the total from here. Total number of people issued is 58 on 24 cases.
Out of how many are available in the embassy?
So there are 6,000 selectees, Egyptians that should be interviewed, right? So I mean, this is nothing. This is pathetic.
هو يقول ده شيء مخجل جدا ومزري جدا. 50 من أصل 6000 هو رقم 58 من رقم 6000 رقم هزيل جدا. Yes, sir.
Okay, so anyway, that was just about Cairo. Happy to answer any other questions you have.
نتناول أسئلة حضراتكم. And I will go to the chart as soon as you want me to go to the chart to share your screen again. Okay. Sure. So let's talk. I'll see the questions in Arabic, and you can pick whatever you want in English.
Sure.
محمد الساهر بريت سايمون. هبدأ سؤالي الأول. سيد بريت سايمون، ما رأيك بقضية good luck وتحليلك للوضع الحالي؟ He's asking Omar. Maybe you know Omar already. He's always on your show.
Omar 150.
Yeah.
Okay. Hi, Omar.
He's asking about good luck, and he's say, what are your analysis and your opinion about the situation and about the appeal? Would it work? Would it not work?
I don't know. I can't predict that. If you'd have asked me, a month and a half, 2 months ago, I'd have thought the appeal by the government was very unlikely to succeed. I thought we were in a stronger position. But Judge Mehta's wording on some of the cases on the appeals seemed to sort of open the door for the government a little bit. And so I don't know why he did that. It's a little worrying, but we have to let that play out. I don't know what's going to happen. I can't predict what's going to happen, obviously.
Okay.
So we'll see.
الأخ عمر هو بيقول لحضرتك الوضع فعلا مش معروف. هو كان يتوقع أن القاضي أميت مهدى لن يسمح للحكومة بالطعن وما حدث، ولكن يبدو أن القاضي أتاح لهم بعض الفرصة. هو لا يعرف لماذا، ولكن الأيام القادمة سترينا ما سيحدث. This one is talking about English. Go ahead.
What's the first thing that winners do after they arrive in the USA?
أول ما تعمله لما توصل أمريكا. Yes, sir.
So normally it's about finding somewhere to live, somewhere, even if temporarily. So when I came to the USA, for example, I lived in a hotel for a few weeks before we then were able to rent a house. And so, you kind of figure out how you're going to start off your journey, finding a job, getting the kids registered in school, getting a car, sort of very basic practical things that you find you need. But each person's needs will be different, right? So if you have family that have somewhere that you can stay, or perhaps a car that you can borrow, you're going to be in a different position than someone else, right? So everybody's first thing is different, but there's nothing that someone has to do by law or anything. When you go through the airport and you present your paperwork, the envelope from the embassy, that's it. You're done. You're in America. You can travel where you want. You can live where you want. You can work at any job you want. You're totally free to do whatever you want, for good or for bad.
Yeah. السيد سايمون يجاوب على كريستيان خوندي. بيقول هنا يتوقف ماذا ستفعله عندما تصل الولايات المتحدة الأمريكية على حضرتك. ممكن يكون في دماغك أول حاجة عايز أسكن فين. لا، هسكن في فندق، هسكن في بيت، هسكن في شقة، هسكن عند أهلي، هشوف مدارس الأولاد. يتوقف من شخص لآخر، ولكن الطبيعي أول ما بتوصل الإيربورت بتسلم الانفلوب لموظف الهجرة فأنت جاهز تعمل أي شيء أنت عايزه حرفيا بالضبط. Now it was a great topic they talk about when you said in many of your previous YouTube videos saying how did KCC did the problem had a problem when they did not process the DV 2022 in time, which is May. So this here will be regarding that. And here is the question. Here, sir.
Okay. So,
and he's a little twisting the thing here. When should it start and when should it end? And
right.
if there is, after all, a deadline.
Right. Okay. So the DS260s. So, for example, in May of this year, just a few weeks' time, the new DV 2023 cases will start to submit their DS260s. Those will be processed from May onwards, and that's the normal way they should do things. So DV 2022 cases should have been being processed in May of last year continuously through the year. But what actually happened was
the lawsuit. Let me translate that part.
Yep. Okay.
Because if I get a big chunk of things,
it's too much.
Something get lost. الأخ كيولاك يقول السيد بريت سايمون على بعد أسابيع من الآن ستدخل علينا 2023 والمفروض أن يبدأوا في معالجة 2023 من شهر مايو والمفروض أنهم يكونوا انتهوا من معالجات 2022. Yes, sir.
So then in April and May of last year, of 2021, lawsuits were filed, and the government chose, without asking anybody, without informing anybody, they chose to switch resources from DV 2022 processing so that all of their staff were working on DV 2021 scheduling. Okay.
Yeah.
And that meant they weren't doing any work on processing DS260s for some months.
وما حدث بالفعل في بداية شهر مايو سنة 2021 كان المفروض أنهم يبتدوا في 2022 وهذا لم يحدث حيث أنهم خصصوا كل مصادرهم وكل موظفيهم للعمل على قضايا 2021 وللعمل على إنهاء أكبر قدر يقدروا يعملوه من 2021 فأثروا بالفعل تجاه 2022 لمدة أشهر عديدة بدون ما ياخدوا إذن حد بدون ما ينبهوا حد أثروا مع 2022. Yes, sir.
So we think that happened around about May 25th, 26th, around about that date. Can't be exact, but about that date where they switched resources, and then until the end of September, they were focused mainly on DV 2021. Although they did do a little bit of DV 2022 processing from July, I think early July and August and September, but only a little bit. So there weren't enough cases processed by October.
يظن السيد سايمون أنهم عملوا حتى 26 مايو على 2022 ثم توقفوا يوم 26 مايو تقريبا وهو ما عندوش التاريخ بالضبط يوم 26 مايو توقفوا عن بحث ومعالجة 2022 واستمروا في 2021. هناك بعض المعالجات تمت في جون وجولاي أو أغسطس وهو مش متأكد منها تماما ولكنهم استمروا في التقصير تجاه 2022 علشان يحسنوا موقفهم في المحاكم حتى نهاية شهر سبتمبر 2021. Yes, sir.
So then in terms of the deadline, there isn't a deadline for the DS260 treatment. But in a typical year, I've seen them, most of the processing is normally up to date by January, February, but they'll continue to process DS260s as people submit them late as July in a normal year. Not very much later than that. This year might be a little bit later because they'll schedule interviews a little bit faster, but typically the September interviews are scheduled in July. And so really, if you don't get processed by July, middle of July or so, you probably aren't going to get your DS260 processed at that point.
السيد سايمون بيقول في السنوات العادية يتم المعالجة حتى تقريبا نهاية شهر واحد. ليس هناك موعد للانتهاء، ولكن تتم المعالجة بالكامل حتى نهاية شهر واحد، ثم بعد ذلك يكون من يبعث يتم بحثه أول بأول. بيكونوا انتهوا من الكمية اللي عندهم، وبيكونوا ابتدوا إن هم اللي يوصل أول بأول يبتدوا يعالجوه. ممكن تفضل المعالجات لحد شهر أغسطس، إنما حسابيا مقابلات شهر سبتمبر بتنزل في شهر يوليو. فإذا ما كانتش اتعالجت الحالة بتاعتك اتعالجت بشهر يونيو، فيعتبر الحالة مش هتتعالج. Anything about this question again?
So I think that's probably explained, answered that question, sort of. But obviously that the DS260 processing has caused problems for DV 2022 to an extent. But just the capacity of the embassies has really caused the problem. People in Cairo are waiting not because they're waiting for their DS260 to process. It's more because the embassy is just not making enough interviews available.
Yeah.
So that's the real problem.
Yeah. وتبقى المشكلة ليست في الدي اس، وتبقى المشكلة في الكاباسيتي في الامباسيز. قدرة القنصليات على الاستيعاب. فمثلا في القاهرة يقول السيد سايمون أن في القاهرة المشكلة في استيعاب القنصلية وليست في الدي اس. Is there any way that we can see how many cases are processed already in Egypt according to them charts?
No, we don't have access to that data. Only once the case has been scheduled. We don't know unless it's answered in the lawsuits. We won't know how many DS260s were submitted, how many have been processed, what the backlog is. We won't have that data unless we can get it through the lawsuits.
ليس هناك أي طريقة نعرف بها عدد الدي اس اللي اتعالجت، عدد الحالات التي تم معالجتها في القاهرة أو في غير القاهرة. الطريقة الوحيدة هي أن احنا نقرأ كم حالة ريدي من خلال الاستطلاع العادي اللي بينزل في النشرات كل يوم، الريدي اللي احنا بنشوفه. غير ذلك ليس هناك طريقة غير القضايا قد ترينا الأعداد الصحيحة. And someone yesterday talking about Cairo, Egypt, someone yesterday said Cairo, Egypt got like 200 interviews yesterday. Then they came back and said, no, it's only 80 they got yesterday. Is that possible?
I don't know where that data is coming from. I'm not seeing that data in any of the normal places. So was that coming from a sort of a forum or something of Egyptians, or?
It's just a random person came out and say they just blowing smoke at you and they just telling you lies. Today, Cairo got 200 appointment. Then they came back and say only 100. Then today they say, oh, we're sorry, it was only 80, which all I see is 25 cases already, and that's about it.
Right. The cases become ready when the embassy updates them, but I haven't seen evidence that that there are lots of 2NLs going to Egypt. It's just not
أوكي.
there.
سألنا السيد سايمون، سمعنا أمس أن 200 تأشيرة 200 مقابلة نزلوا لسفارة القاهرة، ثم رجعوا قالوا لنا 100، ثم رجعوا قالوا 80. فقال لي جبت الكلام ده منين؟ هل ده حد عشوائي بيتكلم؟ فقلنا له بس ده ناس يعني بتتكلم. فقالوا في 200 مقابلة نزلت للقاهرة. قال ما شفتش الكلام ده، ما فيش أي من المصادر الرسمية تقول الكلام ده. قلت له كل اللي أنا أقدر أقوله إن في 25 مقابلة ريدي. قال لي المقابلة بتبقى الحالة بتبقى ريدي لما القنصلية تقول إن الحالة ريدي، غير كده فهي in transit. ده كان رد السيد سايمون. Would you take this please?
Sure. Tunisia is another one where, you know, they're not doing as much as they should. Let me just check the data. So what I do is I tend to look at what their normal capacity is and then what they're doing now, right? And so it's clear that, you know, most embassies are delayed. Let's see, Tunisia. What's the city in Tunisia? Tunis.
TNS.
Yeah, got it. So if you want to show the chart again.
السؤال عن سفارة تونس كما يسأل الأستاذ أحمد S.A. Yes, sir.
So this is the chart for now. They did 12 issuances in January. In September they did 51. You know, in April of last year they did 22. You know, so they're not back at normal. They're not back at normal numbers yet. And you can see, though, that they are back to normal levels of work. They're just spending the time on other visa applications, other types of cases. They're not prioritizing DV enough.
المشكلة في سفارة تونس نفس ما يحدث في سفارة القاهرة. هم لا يعملون بالسرعة المطلوبة ويبدون نفس مشكلة البيج. لا فاكرين اللون البيج اللي هو كان بيتكلم عليه، اللون الأصفر والبني والأخضر، لا نراه هنا حادثا. فمعنى كده أنهم يعطون أولويات لتأشيرات أخرى غير تأشيرات الهجرة العشوائية. Yes, sir.
So, you know, like many other embassies, we just have to hope that they will increase their capacity and try and catch up. But we don't know that they're going to do that. We have to just wait and see. And we can also check the current scheduled Tunis. So they've got a total of 55 people scheduled, at ready. And they've issued 38 cases so far in total.
ما نراه هو البيانات التي نراها عن تونس. Yes, sir.
Yeah, so that's Tunisia. 100 people. It's not very much.
حوالي 100 حتى الآن أو أقل من 100 بقليل. This is a traditional question. السيدة هبة مختار بتسأل ليه أوروبا ليه أفريقيا غير مصر وليه مصر غير أفريقيا.
Yeah, it's a very normal question, as you say. So I don't know the actual Egypt cutoff this year, but let's say that the normal Africa range goes to 65,000 this year, right? Egypt, the highest case numbers you've heard of, do you know what those numbers would be? About 34,000 or something?
The highest number in Cairo?
The highest number for an Egyptian.
For an Egyptian, it's like I seen 37 before, but not 37. This year. So the highest I see this year is 31.
31. Okay. So what that means is that they were able to get. Let me just show the numbers here. So Egypt had. Where are we? Egypt has 6,005 selectees in those 31,000 numbers, right? So it's roughly about 3,000 cases, or around about 100 cases per 1,000 case numbers, right? And then at 31,000, if that's the highest number, then after that point, there's no more Egyptians. It's because they were able to select 6,000 Egyptians through very high number of entries, and they got 6,000 that they wanted by 31,000. Okay. So what that means is there's a very high number of Egyptians compared to, let's say, people from Eritrea, right? There's a high number of Egyptians concentrated in the first 31,000 numbers. And so, and a lot of those Egyptians, a very high percentage of those, process at Cairo embassy, one embassy, right? Of course, there are some people spread out throughout the world, but mainly the 6,000 would be at one embassy. So if they didn't have the accept Egypt, and they went with normal pace of the Africa visa bulletin, it would overwhelm the single embassy, Cairo embassy. And so what they do is they say, okay, there's a lot of people in a small number of cases. We'll have a different numbering range, a different sort of pace for Egypt to spread the load out over the 12 months, because we only need to get to 31,000 for Egypt, whereas we need to get to 65,000 for all of Africa.
عندما كانت مصر تمثل حوالي 6000 فائز، و6000 فائز يمثلون من أكبر الكميات الموجودة في العالم في جنسيات أخرى زيها فعلا، إنما ال6000 دول عاملين حوالي 3000 حالة. ال 3000 حالة لما بيجي يوزعهم على السفارة زي القاهرة عليها ضغط كبير، مضطر انه يوزعهم بطريقة معينة. نقول مثلا كل 1000 فيهم 100، ناخد من ال 3000 دول نوزعهم، هنلاقيهم واصلين لل 3000. لو وصلوا هيوصلوا لحد مثلا 30,000 31,000 32,000 زي ما تكون أكبر حاجة، أكبر حالة في مصر. بعد كده ليس من العدل انه يقحم دول مع الاعداد الكبيره، والا هيحمل لود كبير على السفاره. فبيشيلوا الاماكن او الدول اللي فيها اعداد كبيره جدا، او اللي فيها الثقل في القاره، زي قاره افريقيا مصر، زي قاره اسيا نيبال وايران مثلا. بيشيلوهم ويعملوا لهم ترتيب مع بعضهم، بحيث انهم يحصروهم في من 1 ل 31,000 غير الباقي. وعلى هذا ده اللي بيحصل قدامنا يا هبه مختار. Yes.
Yeah. So and obviously that's more important in Egypt, where a lot of people respond. A lot of those people will be approved because the embassy is normally good and approves a lot of cases. So it needs to be more heavily controlled. But this year, of course, is just a mess. But the accept Egypt thing happens every year for the reason that I explained.
في السنين العادية بتكون مصر من أكبر نسب القبول، أقل نسب الرفض على الإطلاق. في السنين العادية بتكون أكبر التأشيرات من مصر. ما نعرفش ليه السنة دي أقل بكثير. هزنقه تاني وهقول له what do you think happened in Cairo this year and why it's so slow?
I don't know. I have no idea. There's no justification. There's no reason. There's no justification for it. They're processing a good number of cases for other visa types, but they just don't seem to care about DV.
هناك لما سألته فكرك ليه سفارة القاهرة أقل السنة دي وليه اللي بيحصل في سفارة القاهرة، قال مفيش سبب، مفيش justification، مفيش سبب يبرر عدلا ما يحدث فعلا ليس له أي مبرر. Let's rewind and take only a little question just to relax a little.
Prediction. I have no predictions for DV23. I just hope I hope it's better than DV 2022, 21, and 20. But I don't know what will happen, honestly. I have no idea.
يود أن يقول لك يا كريستيان خوندي أن 2023 ستكون أفضل من 2021 و 22 لكن بصراحة ليس بإمكاننا الإجابة على سؤالك، حيث أن هناك من رأيي متغيرات كتير. Too many things might happen, too many litigations might get in and nobody knows. ما نعرفش بصراحة أستاذ كريستيان خوندي، وللأمانة بشارككم معايا.
Yeah.
Just for
I
honesty,
hope we
I
don't need more
tell you what's
lawsuits.
happening in Arabic too.
Yeah. I hope we don't need more lawsuits, but if needed, the lawyers will be there. But I hope we don't need more lawsuits in DV 2023. You know, the government need to fix the problems they've been having. So we'll see. We'll see.
يتمنى أن لا تكون هناك أي قضايا ل 2023. يتمنى أن الحكومة تسيطر على الموقف وتبتدي أن هي تعمل اللي عليها في 2022 ثم 2023 إن شاء الله.
إن شاء الله.
إن شاء الله. إن شاء الله means God willing.
God willing, yep, absolutely.
مستقبل Go. What do you think about the future for Go?
For
Go.
Go, the appeal. Again, I don't know what the outcome will be. We'll have to just wait and see.
نفس الشيء اللي قلناه لجود لك والقضايا الأخرى لابد لنا أن ننتظر لنرى ما سيحدث. I think good luck Fuentes has an idea. No idea. They will.
I think we answered that one earlier. You can remove the shared screen, by the way, Saha.
Okay.
This one we talked about earlier, this question.
Yeah. So, السلام عليكم وليد السعودية بعد كده انتقلت للجيش في مصر وأنا مصري.
While you find another one, I saw one question that says, I was born in Saudi Arabia and moved to live in
Egypt. That is the one.
Is that the one?
Yeah, I was born in Saudi Arabia. Then he went to Egypt. He's Egyptian. He got Egyptian citizenship.
Yeah.
What is his
eligibility? Yeah. He remains Saudi Arabian and will follow the African number, not the Egyptian number. Or Saudi is Saudi is Asia, isn't it? So he'll follow the Saudi Arabian number or the Asian number, not the African Egyptian numbers. And his eligibility still is based on the place of birth, not his current place of residence or his current citizenship. It's place of birth.
ستستمر سعوديا بالنسبة للتشارجبيلتي وستكون بلد التشارجبيلتي بتاعتك السعودية وسيكون الأرقام المميزة لك 2022 أو 2023 AS. I have a question. I didn't read it fully here, but here. This is Simon. That number. Look, plenty.
I think we kind of covered that earlier.
We covered that. Let's switch.
Yeah.
معلش عشان الوقت. This is a question. Let's talk about Congress. Do you think there is a hope with Congress? نسأله أولا هل هناك أمل فيما يحدث في الكونغرس علشان نبقى غطينا الموضوع ما ناخدش السؤال كذا مرة. So what do you think about the Congress? What's happening? BBB, Meng Amendment, the Homeland Security issue, the new thing that they're coming with, which they say Tuesday going to be a big day. Tuesday is gone and we're waiting.
Yeah. I don't think I'm not, we say in English, I'm not going to hold my breath for waiting for them. I don't think we're going to get help from Congress. It's very difficult to get the politicians to agree on immigration changes, etc. So it's not going to come through an immigration change. Maybe there's a chance of putting the Meng amendments, Meng 1 and Meng 2, onto some other bill like the BBB, a reconciliation bill. But I'll only believe it when it happens. Before it happens, it's just a dream.
في موضوع الكونغرس السيد بريت سايمون بيقول لن أكتم أنفاسي، والمثل الإنجليزي يقول I won't hold my breath. مش هكتم أنفاسي لحد ما أشوف الكونغرس هيعمل إيه. من الصعب جدا إن الإخوة أعضاء مجلس الشيوخ والنواب والسياسيين يتفقوا على شيء للهجرة، فأنا لن أضع مستقبلي مثلا كله معولا على ذلك، ولكن أشوف حياتي ويعني أفلح إن صدق لما نشوف حاجة حصلت من الكلام ده. It's been 1 hour. Would you like to take few more questions? We're good.
Let's take a couple more, yeah, if there's any questions you think are important.
I guess he's complaining.
That's a statement. I think that's a statement by Musa. I understand the intent, but you can't demand. It doesn't. Unfortunately, it doesn't work like that, Musa.
Yeah. So I see more questions like there is a hope, there's no hope, very individual questions. This is why I tried to talk first and cover topics like 2021, 2022, and congratulations, Cece. Well, he mixed things here. Deadline, we talked about that too. I was wondering.
Yeah, well, I saw that comment about Cece's earlier question, but I didn't see Cece's question, so it was a good question, but I missed it.
I was wondering the same, Cece. Good question. Let's go up and go for Cece. I think. Oh, Cece.
Okay.
2022 winners from.
Do I have a chance? Okay, let's answer these questions in general, right? So the obvious question, as you just said, Sahai, is I have this case number, or I'm at this embassy, or what are my chances, right? The chances for everyone at the moment are risky. The reality is they're not going to issue 55,000 visas. There were 119,000 selected. Of those 119,000, there's probably 80,000 or so that are qualified and want the visa, right? But the government's pace, their current pace, they're on pace to issue about 35,000. So there are going to be many, many thousands of people that want the visa, want the green card, and they're not going to get it. Okay, so it's hard to predict this one from Algeria or any other case as to whether this case or that case will be lucky.
يستحيل بما كان ان احنا نقدر نتوقع فلان هياخد تأشيرة او فلان ما ياخدش تأشيرة، عبارة عن فقط ان احنا نعرف رقم التأشيرة. والمعول الحقيقي والكبير في ذلك هو ان الحكومة تختار سنويا ما بين 100 130 والسنة دي 119 ألف. في النهاية هم محتاجين 55,000، ولكن الحكومة هذا العام يظن أنها تركز على حوالي 35,000. فأصبح كلمة هل في أمل، هل ما فيش أمل، هل هناك فرصة، هل هناك ما فيش فرصة، يصعب علينا التحدث في ذلك أو توقع ذلك. خلينا نجمع شوية أسئلة أسرع. Let's make some quick questions for Simon. What is your shit list now?
I'll show you.
أسأله عن أسوأ السفارات.
I'm gonna
الليستة الزفت يعني.
Yeah. So the bad one, Cairo is very high on my shit list, right? So Cairo have done very little, and they're very important. It's a very
السفارات السيئة القاهرة. Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's very damaging that they're not doing the work, right? So Addis is as well is another one that's extremely bad. And then Sudan. These four here are the worst offenders.
So we got Cairo, Egypt, Addis Ababa, Khartoum, and
and Sydney, Australia. So they're closed for a different reason. They're closed because they're moving. Would you believe? It's crazy.
Okay, يبقى سيدني ودي هنطلعها برا حساباتنا، بعديها القاهرة وأديس أبابا والخرطوم. Then what? I see Abu Dhabi.
These other ones, they're starting to operate. They're maybe getting a little bit better, and I'll update them. I last updated them at the end of February. So I'll update them shortly. But they're starting to do something. But Johannesburg, for example, has not done enough. Abu Dhabi's not done enough. Amman has done some, but not enough. Nairobi, some, but not enough. It's not very good in many places, right? And so as you look down here, the ones in Africa region that have done well, Casablanca has done well, Algiers has done well, Kanasha, Yaoundé, you can see the ones that have done a reasonable amount, a pretty good amount. And then Cairo should be on top. Cairo should be on top of this list. With the number of people they've got and their ability to process these cases, they should be on top. So it's frustrating.
إذا من أسوأ السفارات القاهرة، أديس أبابا والسودان، وقبلهم سيدني، لكن سيدني ليها ظرف آخر. المفروض أن القاهرة تبقى أفضل السفارات، وهكذا يرى بريت سايمون أن كازابلانكا بعديها الجزائر وبعديها كنشاسا. Yes, sir, I'm listening.
So there you go. So we'll have to see how things continue. But roughly speaking, so the KCC scheduled 3,000 interviews in March and 3,100 for April, and they're now scheduling May. So we'll have to see how many they can get into May. But at 3,000 a month, it's not enough.
هذا كل ما يحدث الآن لا يكفي ولا يرضي بريت سايمون بالأرقام اللي احنا شايفينها. زي ما قال 3000 تعتبر أرقام كلها هزيلة بالنسبة لما يحدث. So far they got, I count yesterday, and they got all what's in this list right there. After calculating the total of the total in the bottom, that is only 1/3 of the 55,000 visas.
Oh yeah, and that's just there's already 1,700 refused or on AP. So yes, this is nothing.
I mean that the total DSs they checked and ready between those who are issued visa, refused, AP, and everything. I only have 18,000, which is 30. Yeah,
it's crazy.
33.6%.
Yeah, it's crazy. Absolutely crazy.
هو يشاركنا الرأي أن 33.6% ما تم حتى الآن إنجازه من عمل ما بين رفض وإصدار وإجراءات إدارية واردي فقط 18,000 رقم مزري. Yes, sir.
And there's only 5 months left, right? So they're now scheduling May. So we've got May, June, July, August, and September. There's only 5 months, and they've only done, 1/3. I mean, not even 1/3 really, because you've got to allow for people getting refused and no shows and that sort of thing, right?
حتى الآن متبقي لنا 5 شهور ولم ننجز إلا الثلث، وإذا جينا للحقيقة لم ننجز الثلث. فهناك نسبة الريفيوز والرفض، ومن لم يدخل المقابلة أصلا لن يحضر، وهكذا، فالنسبة مذرية. So now, are we good, or should we take more questions? What do you think?
Up to you, Sahab. Whatever you want to do.
Well, I'm good. I'm so happy you're here.
Well, if there's any other good questions, let's take 1 or 2 more, and then we can call it a day.
We can wrap it for today. And like you see, they all want Brett Simon. They all have questions for you. So would you please consider do one more interviews with us like this, please? Yep.
Yeah, we can do this again sometime. As things progress, we can do this again. No problem. I saw a question there about. Okay, so they process. Okay, this is a great question and very controversial right now. So let's talk about this one. So there are certain things that should be true, and there are things that are reality, right? So the case number is supposed to give you a priority. A lower case number is supposed to have a priority. But there are parts of the processing that don't respect that priority. And clearly right now they've thrown that priority out the window. So there has been an advantage for lower case numbers. And there has also been an advantage at times for people who submitted their DS260 early. But there are plenty of cases that don't match those two schools of thought. There are people who submitted in May and June and still have not been scheduled or processed even. And there are other people who've submitted in February and submitted their DS260 in February and have already had their 2NL. So there's no logic in the way they're working right now. So for me to say they're working like this or they're working like that is just, it doesn't make sense to sort of be so certain in the way that they're working. They're really working in a very random way, it appears.
للرد على هذا السؤال يقول السيد بريت سايمون أن في الأحيان العادية يكون هناك منوال وطريقة يمشون عليها، ولكن هذا العام ما حدث بالفعل أنهم خرقوا كل اللوائح والمثل. فمثلا لو قلنا ان احنا نمشي بمن صدر اولا او من سلم الكيس بتاعته او الدي اس 260 اولا، فنرى بالفعل هناك حالات ابتدت في شهر مايو، لكن شفنا ناس قدمت في مايو ووصلها موعد بالفعل. ما فيش طريقة ان احنا نقدر نقول ان احنا ماشيين بالكيس نمبر او بغير الكيس نمبر. كل ما نعمله ان احنا نجتهد لنوصل للطريقة المثلى ولما يحدث، ولكن كل ما نرسى على بر يخذلونا وينقوا طريقة تانية. لحضراتكم السيد بريت سايمون موجود على اليوتيوب وعلى البلوج بتاعه، واللي بيمشي تحت في الشاشة هنا هو زي ما انتم شايفين اليوتيوب شانل بتاع بريت سايمون، تقدروا تتابعوه وعليها شوية ترجمة. إذا شغلت الكابشر، إذا شغلت الترجمة هتقدر تتابع بريت سايمون، وهو بيطلع كل يوم أحد مع أحد المحامين جيسي بلاس يوم الأحد في القهوة والكافي. بيطلع بعد كده عند أي حدث في الدايفرستي فيزا بيطلع بريت سايمون وبيعلق أولا بأول. I see that you have a question that you wanted to take, so you still have it?
Did I click on it? Yeah, I don't know if I which one did I click on? I wasn't sure.
I didn't see it here.
No, I'm not sure. There was one there that says I did not participate in the lawyer's case. Can I now in DV 2021? No, there is unfortunately there's no way you can add yourself to one of the DV 2021 cases. For you, it's over. If you're in DV 2021 and you weren't in the Go or the Good Luck case, then there's no more chance.
السؤال الذي رآه بريت سايمون وكان يود الإجابة عليه: أنا 2021، فهل أستطيع الآن أن أنضم إلى أحد القضايا؟ والإجابة solid no، مش هينفع، مش موجود هذا الاختيار أصلا. Do you think so? What do you think about let me rephrase this my way. Do you think that they will reach 30,000 visa this year? I predict there is me, Hussein, Curtis, there is Chuck. We talked before individually, not together, and from their opinion, my opinion first, when me and you talk on YouTube before, I thought it would be between 25 to 30, tops 35. Hussein agreed on 30 to 35. Others have their own opinion. Now we're waiting for Saimon's opinion.
Yeah, and I think the lawyers in general, for example, Jesse Bless has said that he thinks they plan to issue around about 25,000. I think the current pace, there was an interesting comment from Jesse this morning, which was, I said that they can issue 35, perhaps even as many as 40,000 with the current pace. And the reason, if I can just quickly do the math for you, up to the end of February, they had issued 3,000 visas, 3,005 or 3,007.
Okay. Just before the math, let me translate this for them before
I
do
this. Yeah.
السيد سايمون قلت له أنا توقعت من 30 من 25 ل 30 وبحد أقصى 35,000 تأشيرة هذا العام على المنوال اللي ماشيين به KCC والخارجية الأمريكية. أخوي حسين توقع بالأمس، كان قبل كده أقل، لكن بالأمس الأول توقع من 30 ل 35. كذلك باقي المحامين في محادثات فردية بيننا وبين بعضينا كلنا، يعني لما حد بيكلم التاني بيقول لي رأي فلان كذا ورأي فلان كذا، بنكلم بعض بالطريقة دي. فتوقع بريت سايمون قال ان جيسي بليس توقع 25,000، ولكن بريت سايمون على ما يحدث يتوقع انه ربما او بامكان الحكومه انها توصل ل 40,000، ودلوقتي هنعرف ليه. Yes, 40,000.
Okay, so I'll show you why. Do you want to show my screen with derivatives? Okay, here's how I get to my math, right? So here's what I'm thinking. Up to the end of
if you just make it bigger, because they're on their
sure.
phones.
I can zoom in a little bit as well.
Yes. Because they're their phones.
Is that right?
Yep. For me.
Okay, good. So up until the end of February, they had issued 3,000 visas, right? And then in March they scheduled 3,000 cases. Let's call that 6,000 people, and 3,100 in April, right? So if they did, this is the number they scheduled, right? So if they did the same thing all the way through, of course, when they schedule 6,000 people, only about 5,000 or 4,500 would get the visas from that, right? Because there's going to be refusal. But let's predict how many people would get the visas based on 6,000 people being scheduled. Let's be a bit pessimistic and say 4,500 get the visas out of each month.
Wait a minute. Did you say optimistic?
Well, optimistic so I'll tell you a couple of things.
Because today everybody wanted me to ask you this question. I said, listen, Saimon is just a realistic person. It's nothing to do with negativity or whatever.
Right.
You cannot blame anybody for being realistic. So
right.
I'm very glad that you said optimistic. Let's go.
Yeah. So the reason I think that some of this is, well, some is pessimistic, some is optimistic, right? To say 6,000 people are going to be interviewed and only 4,500 sounds pessimistic, but it's actually realistic, right? To assume that they are going to keep the pace is all the way through to the end of the year is slightly optimistic, because what will probably happen is we'll see a decline in the later months, something like this, and we'll see a slight reduction, and we might see this go down to about 5,500, and this to about, let's say, 5,700. This is just rough numbers, right? You understand that, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So here's how I think it will probably go, though. So let's say something like that. So the 3,000 were in the bag at the end of February. In March, I'm expecting them to issue about 4,500 people from the 3,000 interviews, and then roughly the same sort of pace all the way through this year, assuming that they don't get slowed down by DV 2020 and DV 2021 issuances, right? And also assuming... Okay, go ahead and translate.
السيد سايمون بيقول على أي أساس بنى حساباته أن 2022 قد يمكن أن تصل إلى 40,000 تأشيرة. اللي حضراتكم شايفينه في الكولوم الأولاني ال 3000 اللي هو كاتبها هي التأشيرات التي تم إنجازها في شهر حتى شهر فبراير. بعد كده عندنا 3000 حالة في شهر مارس، فهو افترض إن هنمشي على المعدل ده أو سيقل أو سيزيد قليلا. الكولم الثاني اللي احنا شايفينه العمود الثاني ال 6000 ده عباره عن مش الكيسز، ده عباره عن التاشيرات الناتجه عن الكيسز. ال 6000 اللي احنا شايفينها وتوقعها صعودا ونزولا حتى شهر سبتمبر، وبناء على ذلك توقع ان 4500 مثلا تاشيره لو اخذنا كل شهر بعد شهر مارس، لو اخذنا من شهر ابريل 4500 4000 لو مشينا ب 4500 هنوصل لرقم is that 33,800 هنوصل لرقم حوالي 3800 33,800. Yes sir, I'm listening.
So this is a very rough guide, but the 3,000 cases that they scheduled is real, and the 3,100 in April they scheduled is real. So we'll see what they do in May. They're just scheduling now for May. Let's say they do it 3,000, 3,100. Then this is the sort of pattern that we're going to see. If Cairo comes on, if Cairo starts working properly, then these numbers will go up, right?
Because سنستمر على هذا. لو استمرنا على هذا المنوال في شهر، عندنا الحقيقة اللي احنا شايفينها فوق ال 3000 دول حقيقة. ال 3000 بتوع شهر مارس هم حقيقة فاكت. الابريل كمان فاكت. لو شفنا توقعنا في شهر مايو الرقم ده ولو شفنا بالطريقة دي يبقى في النهاية 33,800. إنما إذا دخلت وبقوة سفارة كايرو، وإذا دخلت بقوة سيعظم الرقم وهيطلع لفوق على الأقل من 2000 ل 3000. هنشوف هو هيقول قد إيه. Yes sir. Cairo.
So and I also wanted to point out I've put some AP numbers there because in each month there's a certain number of cases that go to AP rather than being issued straight away, and some of those cases will come back later and they'll be in these numbers. But it can mean that the last month or last couple of months, August and September, you see an increase in issuances because of the AP cases. They try and close them out at the end of the year.
هو هنا حط اعتبار للاي بي والاجراءات الاداريه اللي في اخر شهرين اغسطس وسبتمبر بتضاف الى المجموع. Yes sir.
So because of that, let's increase September to 5,000 and August to 4,500 or something. And there you go. There's 35,000. That's roughly how my mind is working. That's how I'm thinking.
وبالطريقه دي اللي بيفكر بيها بريت سايمون، ودي وجهه نظره ازاي نقدر نوصل تقريبا وليس تحديدا الى رقم 35,000. ودي حسابات السيد بريت سايمون المتفائله جدا، وارجو ان احنا نسجل عندنا ان بريت سايمون is really optimistic right there, thinking roughly 35,000. I'm grateful. I'm really grateful that you're here with us. And I know I took an hour and a half from your time, and you're very welcome on our screen. Most of the Arabs who does not speak English are really happy to see you and to listen to you here in this screen. I would love to do this again and again, as many times as we can. And I'm so grateful for you. We all are, for your work, for your efforts, for your time that you give to DV winners around the world, which is free. You give it free, completely free. Thank you very much for all of that. Is there any word you want to tell the people before we leave?
No, thank you though. Thank you for asking me on, and I appreciate your kind words. So thank you very much for that. And let's hope, inshallah, right? Let's hope that things get better. I hope so.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Thank you very much سيداتي آنساتي سادتي. السيد بريت سايمون كان سعيدا بلقاء حضراتكم ويشكركم على حفاوتكم، ويتمنى أن نفعل ذلك مجددا ويجي يكلم حضراتكم مجددا. لحد هنا وخلص الماتش. خلص ازاي انا ما اعرفش. احنا متشكرين لحضراتكم. Thank you very much and goodbye everybody. Thank you sir.